Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Prajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya Nasta Prayeshu Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. So we're attempting to recount the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, which he offered to Lord Nrsingadev after Lord Nrsingadev had killed Hiranyakashipu. So we were telling last night how Prahlad Maharaj was encouraging Lord Nrsingadev to give up his anger. Those of you who have read Srimad Bhagavatam, you will know how Lord Nrsingadev was very angry because his devotee Prahlad had been ill-treated. He had been treated so badly by Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu tried to kill Prahlad in so many ways. And then finally Lord Nrsingadev appeared and killed Hiranyakashipu. So Prahlad Maharaj was given the task of trying to pacify Lord Nrsingadev, because Lord Nrsingadev had become so angry, could not stop his anger. Everyone was afraid. Even Lakshmi, who was his eternal consort, had never seen him in such an angry mood before. So Prahlad had come and offered his prayers. And he was telling Lord Nrsingadev that you can give up your angry mood. And Prahlad said to Lord Nrsingadev, everyone, all the other were a little afraid because it was a terrifying form of Lord Nrsingadev. He was very angry. And there he was with his garland, and it wasn't rose flowers like this garland, but Lord Nrsingadev had a very special garland, right? It was the intestines from Hiranyakashipu. So he was wearing this big garland of intestines, and his mane, the hair was all covered in blood, and his eyes were fierce. And it was quite a frightening appearance of Lord Nrsingadev. Anyway, Prahlad said, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of you. He said, other people, they may be afraid of you, but I'm not afraid. And the commentators on that verse, they give some nice analogies. They say, just like a lion has cubs, so the lion will be very fierce, very ferocious, but the cubs are not afraid because the cubs have taken shelter of their mother. And similarly, you'll see sometimes a big elephant gets stuck in the river, sometimes like Ganga. You know, Ganga flows so fast. Sometimes, I remember one time in Mayapur, they were taking the elephant for bath in the Ganga. And she got in the Ganga, she couldn't get out. It was a real problem, you know, because the bank was so muddy, they couldn't get out. But with a lot of trouble, finally they got the elephant to move further down the river, and further downstream there was an area where it was more rocky and she could get out. But the elephant was very upset. She didn't eat for 3 days after that, just to let you know how upset she was about the whole experience. Anyway, the elephants, sometimes they're so big, sometimes the ocean or the rivers are so deep that even big elephants can't get out of the current. But little fish, tiny little fish, they can swim upstream because they've taken shelter of the sea. They've taken shelter of the water. You know, we have trouble. We go in the sea or we go in the river sometimes. You can get caught there. The current is so strong, it can be washed away. But little fish, they can swim right upstream because they have taken shelter of the river. In the same way, because Prahlad Maharaj has taken shelter of Lord Nrsingadev, he was not afraid of Lord Nrsingadev. The demigods, they were all afraid, but Prahlad is not afraid. So Prahlad is offering his prayers to Lord Nrsingadev, and he is telling to Lord Nrsingadev that it's let me see my notes here. Yeah, people they're afraid of the material. People are afraid of the material world. They're afraid, fear. That's it. The business of conditioned life is eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing. So in the material world, people are all afraid. We're very much afraid We're always worried about so many things. We have so much anxiety. It's the nature of conditioned life, material world. But for one who has taken shelter of the Lord, then there's no fear. They easily cross over the ocean of material existence. So Prahlad Maharaj is describing in his prayers to Lord Nrsingadev how the material world is full of so much suffering. There's so many troubles in the material world. It's simply troublesome. Even though one may be very, very wealthy and very well educated and very healthy and strong, but still there can be a lot of troubles in this material world. That actually this whole material world is meant for suffering. It's not meant for enjoyment. We like to enjoy, we try to make things pleasant and comfortable for ourselves, but it always ends up in a failure. We take a lot of trouble to try to avoid the troubles of the material world, but still there are troubles. Prabhupada said, just like in the salt mine, if you're in a salt mine, even though you may have a nice cheese sandwich, it will still taste salty. There's only one taste in the salt mine, salt. Right? So material world is a bit like that. There's only one taste, and that is suffering, the pains of the material existence. Of course, we try to minimize that, and with great effort, sometimes we can overcome some of the difficulties, but ultimately, we're always defeated. And to overcome the troubles, of course, we have to make a lot of efforts. We have to go to a lot of trouble to overcome all the difficulties and the problems of this material world. And we try to overcome all the problems. The real problem is the material body, because we're here in this material world. And the nature of the material world is birth and death. It's a place of birth and death. So that is the real problem, the problem of material existence. We are not recognizing what is the real problem. So Prahlad Maharaj explains, he said, just like young children, they may get sick and the parents will try to protect them. Now, does it mean just because your parents are there, you're going to be safe? No one can harm you? We see children also get sick, they get injured, they get problems, even though their parents are there, even though the mother and father are trying their best to protect their children, but still they meet with problems, they meet with difficulties. The sick person may get the best medicine. Does it mean he's going to get cured? Not necessarily. I remember I was based in Calcutta and we were having a life membership program. So one of our life members, he was a big industrialist and he had a heart problem. So he went to America. He went to the best hospital in America to get the bypass operation done. This was like 1970s, like 50 years ago. So he went to America, to Houston. It's a very big hospital there in Texas, Houston. And he got the operation and he died. Yeah. He spent so much money, he went all the way to America, and still he died. There is the law of material nature. So it's not just having the best doctor. It's not just having the best medicine which will protect you. What protects us, we need to have the grace of the Lord. If we have not taken shelter of the Lord, then everything will be a failure. Mother and father are trying their best to protect their children. Still they get sick. Still they suffer. They have problems. We need the grace of the Lord. Another example which is given is, person may be drowning in the sea. Just because a boat comes, does it mean that the person will be saved? Boats also sink. There's a famous ship, the Titanic, right? Did you see that movie, Titanic? You're not supposed to watch movies. No. I usually catch people with that. You mentioned China. Oh, the movie. Oh, yeah, yeah. Everybody's seen the movie. Yeah, so have you read Srimad Bhagavatam? No. Did you read the sloka? No. You see the movie? Yes. So, the Titanic, of course, was an interesting ship. The very first voyage sank in the bottom of the sea. 100 years ago, it's still there in the bottom of the sea. And so you may have the perfect ship. It doesn't mean you're going to cross the sea. And the man drowning in the sea, just because the boat is there, doesn't mean he will be saved. You need the grace of the Supreme Lord. That mercy of the Lord is essential for us to overcome the difficulties of the material world. And there will be difficulties. This place is full of misery. It's all problems. We have to recognize you cannot avoid problems here in this world. But if we take shelter of the Lord, then we can go on with our problem. We can overcome all the problems. It's important, the most important principle. Smartavyam satatam Vishnu vishmartavya najatu krit. Sarve vedi nishedashor etayor eva king. The one regulative principle over all regulative principles is that we should always remember Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna and never forget him. So this is the solution, this is the key to all of the problems of the material existence. So Prahlad Maharaj is recognizing the difficulties. He's explaining them to Lord Nrsingadev for all of our benefits. We have to understand the nature of the material existence, material life, this world. You see, problems, little girl, problems. Although mother is there, but still problems are there. You cannot avoid. So we want to take shelter of Lord Krishna. So Prahlad Maharaj recognizes that this is the real problem, that he has to depend, we all have to depend on the Lord. It's by the grace of the Lord that we can be successful. We make great efforts to try to avoid the problems, and we go to great trouble. Prabhupada explains, just like somebody may be poor, and they may work very hard to try to get wealth. And finally, they may make some money, they may accumulate some wealth, but they had to go to so much trouble to get it. And by the time they get the money, then the life is over and they're ready to die, leave the body, you know. You cannot enjoy the material world, because everything is temporary. So we struggle trying to meet one problem after another. You know, when we're young, you have the education problem, going to school, 1 year after another, exams. Then you go on to college, then more exams. And then post-grad, then more exams. And then you think about jobs. And you get one job, then you have to think about another job. Oh, this job not, oh, I go like this. Is constant problems, one after another. This, just trying to solve the problems, we go to so much endeavor. And so many troubles, so many difficulties. You get one job, are you secure? Maybe for some time you're secure. How long you can be secure? Don't know. I remember Kuwait, they had an invasion here some years ago. I was in Hong Kong at the time, and some of our life members had come to Kuwait. They were here on business. They got stuck at the time when there was an invasion. There's always problems in the material world. Even in the UK, in England, England's an island. It's surrounded by water, but sometimes in the summer, there's no water. They have a drought. They don't have water. They have to bring water from other country. So they go to so much trouble to try to solve the problem. The nature of this world is just trouble. So Prahlad Maharaj said, the real solution to all the problems is to take shelter in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, to do service for the Lord. And in that way, you can transcend the material energy. Right? Bhagavad Gita says, Mam chayo vayabhicharena sagunam samatijayakam. Right, as soon as you engage in devotional service, you come to the level of Brahman. You're not under the material energy. Once you take up devotional service, the material energy is checked. You've taken shelter of the spiritual energy. There are two natures. There's the spiritual nature, there's the material nature. The material nature is temporary and miserable, and the spiritual nature is eternal and blissful. We want to take shelter of the spiritual energy, and we can do it very easily as soon as you begin to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. So this is understood by Prahlad Maharaj. He's very happy to hear about the glories of the Lord, and he's happy to chant the Lord's glories also. Devotional service is something which is easy for everyone to do. Everyone can, just like when we have kirtan, everyone can join in the kirtan. Everyone, young men, old men, women, children, everyone can take part in the Sankirtan. It's very easy and it's very joyful. So this is the nature of devotional service. That once we start to take up the service of the Lord, then the material energy is put out, it's put out, it's under control, it's fully, just like the darkness is put away whenever you turn on the light. As soon as you turn on the light, the darkness is gone. So as soon as we begin to chant, as soon as we take up Krishna conscious activities, then all the material energy is put under control. It's all subjugated. It's fully checked by the power of devotional service. Just by chanting the holy name, by awakening our natural Krishna consciousness, then the material energy is suppressed. This is what we want to do. We want to check the material energy. We want to put it under control. And we can do it. We just have to take up this process of devotional service. So Prahlad Maharaj prays to Lord Nrsingadev. He says, please let me have association with one of your servants. Association with a devotee is very important for us, because in the association of devotees, there will be the opportunity for hearing and chanting. Just like you've all come together this evening, we have come together this evening for this purpose, to hear and to chant and to discuss the glories of Lord Krishna. Tatam prasanga mama virya samvido bhavanti red karana rasayana. Topics of Lord Krishna, when heard in the association of devotees, is very pleasing to the ear and to the heart. But we have to hear in the association of devotees. Just put some water. Association. Please. Thank you, Bruno. In the association of devotees, then it's more pleasurable to discuss topics of Krishna. We have to get that associate. Prahlad Maharaj is praying to Lord Nrsingadev, please give me the association of your devotees so that I can relish the chanting of your holy names and discuss your wonderful pastimes. Topics of Lord Krishna include topics of Lord Krishna's incarnations. Lord Krishna has incarnations. Incarnations. Lord Nrsingadev is one of his many incarnations. And Lord Nrsingadev is a very special incarnation, because whenever we have any danger, whenever we're in fear of the material energy, then we can call out to Lord Nrsingadev. We should learn to take shelter of Lord Nrsingadev. You know, we see often in Hindu society, people have Ganesh. They put Ganesh on their doorway. Ganesh is Vigna Vinaya, right? He will destroy the Vigna, the obstacles which are there in the path of devotion. But who gives the power to Lord Ganesh? Yeah, Lord Nrsingadev is this. So devotees, the Vaishnavas, we will put Lord Nrsingadev there. We worship Lord Nrsingadev, that he destroys the obstacles on the path of our progress. And we have to learn to take shelter of the Lord. And we do it by remembering to chant his name. Right? Just like usually when we do arti, at the end of our arti, after the arti, then we will sing Nrsinga Stotra, right? Tavakara Kamala Varenakam Adbhuta Shringa, right? We're Adbhuta Shringa. The form of Lord Nrsingadev is Adbhuta, very wonderful. Oh, you know, it's so shocking to see Lord Nrsingadev. So this is the wonder of Lord Nrsingadev. Prabhupada gave us this mantra to chant. He said, this will protect our devotees. It will protect our society. This is why every day we are chanting, and especially When there is a danger, then we take shelter of Lord Nrsingadev. Lord Nrsingadev is very merciful to his devotees. He's very fearful to the non-devotees, but to the devotees, he's very merciful. Just like the lion is very merciful to her cubs, but very fearful to others. So we learn to take shelter of Lord Nrsingadev. And in this way, we can overcome all of the obstacles on the path of devotion. The real solution to all the problems of material existence is to take shelter of Lord Krishna, or you may like to worship Lord Nrsingadev. You can worship any of the forms of the Lord. Some people are very much devoted to Lord Krishna. Other people like to worship Lord Jagannath. We see now, of course, in Ayodhya with the Rama temple, many people are attracted to worship Lord Ram. Lord Rama has become very popular in the recent times, you know, with that new temple opening in Ayodhya. There's a flourish of Ram Bhakta. And people are more interested nowadays to read Ramayana than to read Bhagavad Gita. And so, it's all right. They're all different forms of the Lord. Lord Rama, we're seeing the Lord as a perfect king. Maryada avatar. Lord Rama, perfect in behavior, perfect in etiquette, perfect example for others. Lord Nrsingadev is a special form of the Lord for protection. And Prahlad, Maharaj, although Prahlad did not ask for protection, but Prahlad is actually a Vishnu Bhakta. He's a devotee of Lord Vishnu. And his father had asked him, where is this Lord Prahlad? Where is this person you're always worshipping? Prahlad wanted to know, Prahlad's father, Hiranyakashipu, wanted to know, where is he? And he was asking, is he here in this pillar? And Prahlad, because Prahlad is an Uttama Bhakta, means he's a devotee on the highest level, he sees the Lord everywhere, in everything. So the Lord asked him, Hiranyakashipu, his father, asked him, is he here? Where is he? And Prahlad said, well, he's everywhere. He's also there in that pillar. So Lord Nrsingadev, Lord Vishnu, in response to Prahlad's statement, the Lord appeared there. Because Prahlad said, yes, he's there. So Hiranyakashipu broke the pillar and the Lord appeared from there. And the Lord took that form of Nrsingadev just to satisfy the different the different conditions which had been given to Hiranyakashipu. Because Hiranyakashipu wanted that he should not be killed by any man or any beast. So the Lord came in a form which was not man and was not beast. It was half man and half beast, you see. He took the form of Lord Nrsingadev. And he had to meet the different conditions which Lord Brahma had given to Hiranyakashipu. So the Lord was so attentive to the dealings of his devotee that Lord Brahma had given these benedictions. So when the Lord came, he had to keep all these different conditions in dealing with Hiranyakashipu. Of course, after he killed Hiranyakashipu, then he chastised Lord Brahma. And he told Lord, don't you give these benedictions again, that you've given me so much trouble. Because of all your benedictions, I had to go to all of these different conditions, you know. Don't come in this form, don't come in that form, don't come at that time, don't come in that place, and don't kill him that way, and don't kill him any other. You know, so many different conditions he had to meet. Don't do this, don't do that. There's a lot of trouble for Lord Vishnu. So Lord Brahma got chastised, you know. It's not easy to take the position of Lord Brahma, you know. Just people come and get benedictions from you, and somehow you're obliged to give them these benedictions. Then it creates problems. So Lord Nrsingadev killed Hiranyakashipu. Lord Nrsingadev came to protect his devotee. He gives protection. Prahlad did not ask for protection, but the Lord relates to the devotee. The Lord is Bhakta Vatsala. He's not Jnana Vatsala or Karma Vatsala, but Bhakta Vatsala. He relates to the devotee, not according to their knowledge or according to their work, but according to their devotion. Lord Krishna is controlled by his devotee. Right? Lord Krishna is Madan Mohan, but he is controlled by Radharani. Srimati Radharani is Madan Mohan Mohini. She can control Krishna. Krishna controls Cupid, and Radharani controls Krishna. Krishna is controlled by devotion. The Lord is conquered by his devotees. He becomes the servant of his devotee. We see Lord Krishna drive the chariot for Arjuna at Kurukshetra. Why does he become a charioteer? Charioteer means like a Sudra, a low-class person. Lord Krishna is willing to take that position to serve his devotee. Lord Krishna became a peon in the service of Maharaj Yudhisthira. Maharaj Yudhisthira asked Lord Krishna, take this message to Duryodhana, to Dhritarashtra. Try to avoid the Kurukshetra war. Lord Krishna went, just like a peon, like a messenger. This is Lord Krishna taking the position, the servant of his devotee. Although he is the master of everyone and we are all his servants, he will become the servant of his devotee. He is controlled by pure loving devotion. So Lord Vishnu also comes in this form of Lord Nrsingadev, just to protect his devotee Prahlad and save him from all the atrocities which his father was doing against him. And Prahlad, he is appreciating Lord Nrsingadev. He's appreciating the process of devotion, and he is praying to Lord Nrsingadev that he will always be able to chant the glories of the Lord and to remember the transcendental qualities of the Lord. He has no prayer to ask for anything. Now, usually when people will pray to the Lord, they will want something. They want to get something. You know, maybe, you know, you have a child. Sometimes if the child's very intelligent, you know, they'll come and they'll say, you're such a nice mother. You're so good mother. I love you so much. And they say, I need some new shoes. I want a new mobile phone. I want a computer, you know. And they have a list of, you know. in the beginning, they'll glorify and praise, and then they'll come out later, can you get me this? You know? So that's usually the way of prayers. But Prahlad is not that kind of person. Prahlad, he's offering prayers. He doesn't want anything material. In fact, we will hear at the end of his prayers, Prahlad will say, I am not a businessman. You know, I'm not worshipping you just to get something. That's a way of business. I'm not that kind of person. Of course, Lord Nrsingadev wants to give something to Prahlad. So Prahlad will request Lord Nrsingadev, please bless me that in my heart there will be no desire for sense gratification. The desire for sense gratification is the enemy of one who is on the path of devotion. We have to constantly check the mind, right? It is the restless mind which is always agitating. Sometimes the mind wants this, sometimes the mind wants that. We have to constantly deal with the mind. So Bhagavad Gita tells us, higher than the mind is intelligence. We use our intelligence to control the mind. What is good, what is bad. And seated next to intelligence is the soul. And there are two souls. There's the individual soul and the super soul. So the super soul is there along with the individual soul and seated next to the intelligence. And Lord Krishna is there as the super soul. Actually, Prahlad recognizes that in everything, the Lord is there. It's the Lord who's arranging everything. Whatever we do in the material world or in the spiritual world, it's all arranged by the Lord. In this world, the super soul is there directing all of us. Right? The super soul is described in the Bhagavad Gita as the overseer and the permitter of activities. In the famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita, the super soul is described, Sarvasya chaham hridisani visto matak smritir jnanam apohanam cha Vidaisya sarvam mahameva vidya vedanta krit veda ved eva chaham. Lord Krishna is saying he is in the hearts of all living entities. And from him comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So these three things are given by the super soul. He can give us knowledge, what we should be doing, how we should be acting. He can remind us of our desires, what we want, what we're trying to get from life, what is our mission. And he allows us also to forget. Sometimes we like to forget our responsibilities, our duty. You know, sometimes people may forget, oh, I'm supposed to chant 16 rounds. Sometimes people forget, oh, I'm supposed to be a vegetarian. We forget. So that comes also from the super soul, according to our own desire, because the Lord is there in the heart. He's seated next to us. I said two souls are there, the Jivatma and the Paramatma, just like two birds in the tree. The example was given about two birds. One bird is eating the fruit and the other bird is the witness. So the one bird's eating the fruit. Sometimes the fruit is sweet, sometimes the fruit is bitter. The other bird is watching. The witness to the activities. See, sometimes we don't remember, we forget. Super soul remembers. Super soul reminds us something. But sometimes super soul also allows us to forget, because when we forget, then we enjoy more, or in our attempt to enjoy anyway. Super soul allows us to forget. Just like if you're acting in a drama, are you going to do a drama for Nrsimha Chaturdasi? Will you have a drama?
Yes,
Usually everywhere we like to do a little drama. So if you're acting, you'll know that you need to forget who you are, and you need to enter more into the mood of the part, you know. So if you're playing the part of Hiranyakashipu, you know, you have to forget who you are in the material world, and you have to adopt the mood and enter and play the part, you see. And the more you can forget your real identity, and the more you can enter into the part, the mood of that part, then the better you will act, you see. Prabhupada tells us, he said, when he was a young boy, they used to do drama, and they did the drama about Lord Rama. Was it Lord Rama leaving home? And Maharaj Dasarath, Lord Rama's left home, Maharaj Dasarath, his son is gone, Maharaj Dasarath leaves the body, die. So the person who was acting it, he was so much into the part, the person actually died. You know, he gave up his body. You know. So sometimes these things happen. You know, you get so much into the part, it becomes a real. So anyway, the super soul allows these kind of things. We forget, and that way we can enjoy more. If you remember, oh, I have to be a vegetarian, oh, I cannot enjoy. So super soul has these functions. We are trying to enjoy. The Lord is there in this world. Everything is there. It's all done by Him. But we are the instruments, right? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Nimitta matra bhava savya sachin. Become an instrument in my service. So Lord is there in the heart as a super soul. We can be an instrument in the Lord's service, or we can be a bad instrument. You know, we can do what we want. We follow our own desires. But it's all orchestrated by the Supreme Lord, by the super soul. The Lord is doing everything. He's everywhere in everything. It's all His energy, right? We say Ishvara Parama Krishna, the supreme controller is Krishna. He's everywhere in everything. So everything is done by Him. So Prahlad Maharaj said, it's all done by the Lord. How to understand? Are we responsible? Yes, we're responsible. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am not responsible for your different activities. The super soul is fulfilling the desires of the living entity. It's the desire of the living entity, which is known by the super soul. And the super soul facilitates these desires through the material energy. Right? The material energy is not under our control, it's under Lord Krishna's control. Maya jakshena prakriti. So, this material nature is under my direction, O son of Kunti. There was a famous king in England. They had this story about there's this one king, Canute. And people thought, King Canute is so powerful that even if he tells the sea to go back, the sea will go back. But the king thought, this is stupid. The king himself knew he wasn't so powerful. So one day he had his throne put on the beach, and the tide was coming in. And the king was sitting there, go back, go back. And the water kept coming. And finally, the king was under the water, And so that's history, famous story. This king was showing by example that he was not the ultimate controller. Although people were thinking the king is so powerful, he showed them that I'm not the controller. Who's the control? The material nature is and who's controlling the material nature? Ultimately, there's one Lord over the material nature who's controlling everything. So that is known by the devotees. The devotees understand that. Therefore, they don't try to control the material nature. They surrender to Krishna, who is the controller of the material nature. Materialistic people are trying to exploit the material nature. That's why they're struggling. That's why they have so many difficulties in life, so many troubles. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna describes, first of all, the material nature. Bhumerapo nalo vayu
ahankara idiyame binna prakritirashtada.
Right, binna prakritir ashtada. Right, there's a separated material energy. This is, the 8 elements are separated, meaning not very dear to Lord Krishna. Just like husband and wife may be separated, the relationship is not very good, so they separate. So the same way, material energy is separated from Krishna. Lord Krishna resides eternally in the spiritual world. He has his own abode. This material world, where the 8 elements are, this is his separated energy. And then Lord Krishna goes on to describe apariyamitastvanyam prakritim jiva bhuta mahabaho. Beside this material nature, there is another energy of mind, which are all living entities, right? We're also prakriti. There's the inferior prakriti and the superior prakriti. We are the superior prakriti. But we have pariyamitastvanyam prakritim jiva bhuta mahabaho yeyidam daryate jag. We're trying to exploit the material nature. This is the problem. We're thinking this prakriti is mine. We're not the Purusha. Indeed, you may be Purush, but in terms of spiritual technology, Ekala, there's only one Purusha, Ekala Ishvara Krishna, or Samprija. We are the Prakriti. Bhagavad Gita said we are Prakriti, we are superior Prakriti. But we are Prakriti, we are the energy of the Lord. We're superior because we have consciousness. This table, no consciousness. We have consciousness. So therefore, superior Prakriti. But still, Prakriti. We are the energy of the Lord. And we're meant to be engaged in the service of the Lord. But we have the problem. Yeyidam daryate jagat. We are trying to exploit. And then Krishna goes on to explain, Mamivam sajiva loke jiva bhuta manashastani prakriti stani karshati. Yes, why are we having so? Because this is the problem. We are trying to exploit the material energy. Therefore, we get so many troubles dealing with the material nature. We are meant to use the material nature in the service of Lord Krishna. So this is understood by great devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. He will only use the material energy for the service of Lord Krishna, for the service of Lord Vishnu, Lord Narasimha. Prahlad Maharaj wants to use his tongue to chant the glories of the Lord, and he will use his ears to hear the glories of the Lord. He will use his legs to walk to the holy temples, to visit the holy places. He will use his legs to dance in the kirtan. He will use his eyes to see the beauty of the Lord in the deity. And he will use his nose to smell the flowers offered to the Lord. And just like, you know, the example Maharaj Ambarish is there in Srimad Bhagavatam, how he used all of his different senses in the service of the Lord. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparadvena nirmalam Rishikesha. Yeah, Rishik. Sarvupadi vinirmukt. Upadis, designations. Sarvupadi vinirmukt. We have to give up these designations. We designate ourselves different ways. You know, like I'm teacher, I'm housewife, I'm Indian, I'm American, I'm this, I'm that. We have so many designations, all in relation to the body. But that is not real. We have to give up these designations. These designations are all superficial and temporary. We have to give them up. So, sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparat vena nirmalam. Rishikesha Rishikena, use our senses in the service of the master of the senses. Lord Krishna is Rishikesh. We are the senses, our senses belong to him. We're meant to use the senses for him. Just like you have an apartment here, you have a landlord, you have to pay the rent for the landlord, right? So the same way, this body, these senses, they're not ours. They're given to us by the Supreme Lord. And we're meant to use these senses for his pleasure. We have to pay rent for them, right? If you don't pay the rent, the landlord will kick you out, right? You put out. So if we don't use our senses in the proper way, then we'll get reaction, we'll get trouble, we'll get difficult, because we're not using the senses for what they're meant for. They're meant to be used in the service of the Lord, but instead we're using them for our pleasure. So this creates a problem. The problem meaning, again, we have to come in the material world. Again, you have to take more birth. So Prahlad said to Lord Narasimha, I'm not afraid of Lord Narasimha, I'm afraid of samsara. I'm afraid of that wheel of material existence. And Prahlad said, I've taken my birth in the family of the demons. He said, I can't blame anyone for that. It was my own doing, by my own karma. It's the result of my own work that I've been born into this situation. So Prahlad Maharaj recognizes his own situation, that he's born in the family of the Asuras. It was his karma. He did the karma which put him into that situation. He doesn't blame anyone for it. Oh, why I'm in this situation, why I'm like this. No. It's all our own doing. We have put ourselves into these different situations. Our body, which we have today, was our own doing. You can't say, oh, why my body's like this? Oh, it's all of our own work, our own karma. And we have to be very careful to change, to do the proper work, so that we will get out of that samsara, so that we will get a good situation in the future. So Prahlad Maharaj understands. He is not afraid of Lord Nrsingadev. He's afraid of the association of the asuras. Because in the association of the asuras, then you forget the goal of life. And you only think about sense gratification. You only think about material pleasure. The mission of life is forgotten. So this is the danger. So this is some of the teaching of Prahlad. We're hearing how he's offering these prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. We can also reflect, try to remember how Prahlad prays, try to follow in the footsteps of these great devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any question? Yes?
It's wonderful class, Maharaj. And the question is, like Lord Ram given some time to Ravana to kill him. At least one day he gave. Then in same way, Kamsa also killed by Lord Krishna by a punch. Like in wrestling, only 3 punch only he gave and he killed Kamsa. But however, here Lord Narasimha he killed Hiranyakashipu in very ferocious way. May know why he killed in such a way and what we have to understand by this.
Well, Hiranyakashipu came, remember he's initially Jain Vijay. They came to Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, Jain Vijay, and they came to the material world for the purpose of giving a good fight to the Lord. The Lord wanted to have a good battle with someone. So when he fights, he doesn't fight with just anybody. They have very special personalities who are allowed to fight. Just like sometimes a monarch or a king will keep people there who he can fight with and who he will wrestle with, and who he will battle with. And so the same way the Lord arranged for Jain Vijay to come into the material world as demons so that he could enjoy a good battle with them. So it's for the pleasure of the Lord. The Lord fighting with these demons, it was for his pleasure. So Hiranyakashipu had a good fight with Lord Nrsingadev. Lord Nrsingadev enjoyed. It was his pleasure. We understand?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you very much. As you mentioned in regards to the heart, and then in heart we have intelligence and all intelligence we have soul, and in soul we have our Paramatma, and so and Paramatma always keeps watching us and whatever activities we do. So how can we make sure that how can we make our Paramatma happy? What kind of activities that can be done? Yes, we have heard that we have to definitely, as you rightly mentioned, Prahlad Maharaj used to always engage himself in Swaranam and all the Gamvida functions. But when it comes to our material activities, when we go to office or when we are engaged in school or colleges or doing further study, while we are doing that, how can we make that Paramatma happy, enjoyable to do such activity?
Well, when you dedicate everything for the pleasure of the Lord, that will make him happy. We would call it karmarpana. Yat karoshi yajasnati yajjahosi dadati. Tat kurushva madarpanam. Madarpanam, offer everything, do your work for the pleasure of the Lord. You're studying, you're working, whatever you're doing, you do it for his pleasure. That will please Paramatma. Offering the results of the work.
Because we have also observed that in today's world, especially there's a lot of competition. From education, you just give an example of we get so much of panic attacks, as well as we get so much of situations where we are always in stressful condition. Especially when it comes to teenage, they have so much of competition. Again, in college is also competition, and after we give an example, after college they have to go and study and again further look for a job and so on. And very, very competitive world we see. So in this situation, how can we make sure that we inspire our future generation to always be engaged in devotional service? What can be done? Because in a way, in their college, when they are in school all the time, they have been, as the Prabhupada says, there's a slaughterhouse, and then they come home with this environment. So how can we motivate them? How can we inspire them? How can we energize them to always be in this path?
Well, they have to be encouraged to hear regularly. If they've been hearing from the beginning, then all of these things which you spoke about, the stress and the competition, they won't be so much affected by these things. Because a devotee understands ultimately everything is the will of the Lord. It's not just competing and coping with stress. The stress that's in the mind, but we don't need to have that kind of attachment. Devotee doesn't need to be stressed. We just chant Hare Krishna. You chant the holy name, and all that stress can be put aside. You just take shelter. If you have that practice to control the mind, then you just tolerate these difficulties which come. The difficulties which come, we accept them as the grace of the Lord. And we thank Krishna. Oh, thank you, Krishna. Krishna will arrange, ultimately. We depend on Krishna. So we do our best, do our duty, right? Krishna says, Karmani evadikaraste ma palishu kadat. Right? Do your duty. Don't be attached to the fruit. Never be attached. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of work, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So Lord Krishna is describing the karma yoga, it's just, we have to apply these principles. One who is a devotee will also practice karma yoga. He's also a karma yogi. So detachment is very important. And it's important, that the people around us shouldn't be too much attached to the results. You don't want to be putting pressure on your children. Oh, you didn't do very good. You should do better than that. Yeah, we have to recognize, some children may do good and some may not. Just be happy. Be satisfied. That okay, it's your life. You didn't.
They all have started looking at their Maharaj, you are really inspired. Because they started looking at their parents and looking at their expression.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's important, that as parents, shouldn't have false expectations. But you should be happy that your child is a devotee. That's a good thing. Appreciate that. The fact that your children can be devotees and they can chant Hare Krishna, that's very nice. They may not do great in their exams, but okay, you know, be happy, be satisfied. Don't put too much pressure. Oh, this and oh, you have to do better. Oh, you have to try harder. No. Yes, Prabhu.
Krishna, I just want to share something.
Yes.
Since I'm a parent as well, so I'm just sharing my experience exactly on what we asked. So I feel that having a purpose, sometimes having a, when smart kids, if they have a higher purpose, why are we doing what we are doing? And we are doing it ultimately in a way that we can serve Krishna, serve the devotees better, at least have that very clear ultimate objective. If I want to be a doctor, I want to serve. That if we have this purpose, the stress goes away or it reduces. Because when you're not fighting a rat race, you're not fighting that, I want to be ahead of you. You're fighting for a cause, for a purpose. Sometimes finding that purpose in what you do and relating it to Krishna, I think helps.
Yes, it's very true. Yes, if we do it for Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. We must be properly situated in Krishna consciousness, Just like Lord Krishna told Arjuna, you do your duty. You're not the doer, you're an instrument in the service of Krishna. So you do good, give the credit to Krishna. And if you don't do good, then take the blame. There was this one man used to cook, he was very nice, elderly man used to cook. And devotees would say, oh, your cooking is so nice. And he would say, well, if it tastes good, thank Krishna. But if it's not good, then you blame me. So you do good in your exams, give the credit to Krishna. And you don't do good, then it's your blame, right? Hare Krishna.